Amen. Grant the announcement of the word of great power for them and the gospel of the Son of the Lord Jesus Christ. Wisdom, the sinless and holy gospel, peace be with you all.
And with your spirit.
The reading of the holy gospel according to St. John.
Glory to you, O Lord. Glory.
And the Lord said to the Jews who came to him, Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he had brought out all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. The parables Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was trying to say to them. So Jesus again said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not heed them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture.
Glory to you, O Lord. Glory to you. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you.
You may sit. Christ is ascended
Into heaven.
Good morning.
Good morning, Father. Good morning.
So today we have a gospel reading that talks again about something that's very familiar to me. The shepherd and the sheep. Jesus says that he is the door to the good pasture, and he is the shepherd. He is both. But there are ways for individuals to come into those pastures and to upset and stir up and do unbalance. I think we can see those things happening now. One of the tasks of the shepherd is to protect the sheep. One of the tasks of the shepherd is to keep them safe. That is why oftentimes I do not compare myself to the shepherd, but to either when the leading of the sheep, the ewe with a bell around the neck, or the shepherd's dog. The shepherd often has a dog that is out there that protects and keeps all the enemies away. Jesus tells us that anybody who comes into that place, anybody who comes into the pasture or climbs over in a different way is nothing but a thief and a robber. What is a thief? A thief is somebody that comes during the night. A thief is somebody that comes in and steals and takes away. A thief is somebody that comes unaware, unannounced, and he disrupts. And if anybody has ever been broken in by a thief and in their house, you can feel that feeling of uneasiness and that feeling of uncalmness for quite some time. And then Jesus says, thieves and bandits, robbers. The bandits and the robbers, I know that have been most of the time glorified by the movies, the cowboy movies and everything, of people who hold up trains and they do hold up banks. They do so out in the open. So we have these people that do things out in the open, and we have people that do them in the silence of the night, in the silence of the darkness. But oftentimes, we need to remember these thieves and robbers are more than just human beings. The thief and the robber, the original thief and robber, was Satan. Satan himself was a thief, and Satan himself was a robber. He came firsthand to Eve, and he tempted her. And he stole something away from her. He stole something away from her, and then by extension led Adam to do the same. But Adam could have done something different, but Adam did not. He followed suit and listened to the thief and the robber. I never blame Eve. I actually blame Adam more than Eve, because he could have been the person, he could have been the man that he was designed to be. But he was not. He followed suit and he listened and went along with what was going on. There's so many people today that do the same. There are many people that are led astray. Thieves and robbers, and we can call them whatever we want to call them, but we see them throughout the country, we see them throughout the world, stealing away, stealing joy, stealing happiness, stealing peace. They are people that what St. Paul calls the wolves that come in. And more terrifying than the wolves are the wolves that are dressed like other sheep. One of the things that the shepherd has to do is guard. And one of the things that the shepherd must do is keep his sheep safe. But oftentimes, while we are here on the world, the pastures are wide open sometimes for attack and are vulnerable. That's why we need to be prepared. That's why we need to keep aware always. Jesus is with us. Jesus is our protector. But here on the world, we're in a landscape that is not our own. We are called aliens. We are called strangers. We are called not of this world. And while we're on this world, we must watch and keep vigilance in everything that we do. St. Paul also talks about wearing the armor of God. But also Isaiah talks about the glory of the Lord being our rear guard. We need to watch what is behind us as well. I do not mean to watch what's happened in our life before. I don't mean to watch what's happened in our life or the sins that we have done before. I am talking about watching the most vulnerable part of us, which is behind us. And it says that the glory of the Lord is our rear guard. We need to have that glory of the Lord protecting us always. I am also reminded of the letter of Romans where Paul talks about all good things come to those who love the Lord. I know oftentimes when we see all these horrible things happening, when we see all these things, the violence and the sickness and the disasters and everything that are going on in our world, many of us are tempted to lose heart. Many of us are tempted to say that there is no God. And as a matter of fact, God warned us of those things. He warned us that there would be a time where they would say, there is no God. But I say to them, I can see the glory of the Lord in all things that happen. All things do work for good to those who love God. I remember some of the days when I had been going through some of the most treacherous and most horrible times of my life, either in my personal life or with my health. But as long as I kept focusing on the Lord, as long as I kept walking towards what the Lord had destined and stored for me, He brought all good things into my life. It doesn't matter if I lose my life. It matters if I lose my life and I offer it up as a worthy sacrifice to the Lord. It matters if I give my life over to the Lord, and it matters if I hold Him up in the highest regard. For the Lord my God, He is the strength, He is the courage, He is the defender of my life. It is my soul that is important. And we have strength, and we have this glory that we call confession. We have this glory that is called the Eucharist. We have this glory that is called the church. The church itself is the people. But the faith, the Orthodox faith, the faith of the Christians in general, we must be vigilant and wait and be patient for the Lord our God to return. And if He does not come during my life, if He does not come during my son's life, it is up to us to teach and to prepare our children for what is coming. Even now, even at this time, I am preparing my young child, my little boy, to prepare him for if his daddy perishes at some point. That he does not get angry at the Lord. He does not get angry at the situation, but he sees that the glory of the Lord is always shining through. We must look to the Lord now, especially in these dangerous times. We must look to the Lord now. We must put on the full armor of God. We must put on the salvation. We must put on the righteousness. We must put on the truth. We must wear the gospel of peace upon our feet. We must stand firm with everything that we must do. We who are called Christians, we oftentimes must take the mantle of sometimes the sheep with the bell around their neck, and sometimes that of the guard dog that guards the sheep. I have seen many times firsthand where dangerous enemies and dangerous things come and try to attack the sheep that my father owned. My dad was a shepherd, and there was many days that he entrusted those sheep to those dogs. He entrusted those sheep to those dogs to protect what he was protecting, even if he wasn't there. When the shepherd wasn't there, he entrusted that there would be some sort of food. And even in the wintertime, even in the times when there would be the deep snow, I remember my dad would have to park sometimes a mile or two away because he could not make it with the vehicle. And he would carry his cooler and walk 2 miles to where his sheep were. But it was his job. It was his duty to take care of the sheep. And when they were doing the season of lambing, when they were having the little babies that they were lambing at the time, my dad would spend days on end and only go back to town for a fresh run of supplies. But even then, he would leave the shepherd dog out there to protect and to guard. The shepherd, our shepherd, this past weekend, he ascended into heaven. He ascended into heaven and he went up and he left the guard dogs to protect his people. He left the guard dog to protect his flock. Yes, oftentimes we call the priest the shepherd. We call our bishops and hierarchs shepherds. But really the true and good shepherd is he that ascended. And the people that came, the people that fought and struggled, they are the ones that defended the church, defended the faith, and they brought what we have now. We were able to read the scriptures. We're able to worship freely here. But I fear there comes a time where we will not be able to worship as freely as we once did. I fear that there will become a time where we will be forced to worship in secret again. But even if those days come during my lifetime, during my son's lifetime, that we will be prepared. For the church, for the people will endure. The Lord will not leave us and will not forsake us. He will keep us safe. And if we hear his voice, we will know exactly where to go. But those people that we compare, Jesus talks about during the return, that he will put some to the right, which are the sheep, and those to the left, which are the goats, and sometimes translated as the unwielding sheep, the people that do not yield any fruit, the people that are barren and do not give anything back to the world. They hear the voice of their master. They hear the voice of their shepherd, Satan. Jesus talked about it. Jesus was blatant about it. And today I come and I say, do not let the voice of the world, do not let the voice of Satan and darkness overcome and overwhelm our hearts and our souls when it comes to the time when we are fearful, anxiety, and are in darkness. Because the light does shine in the darkness. The light shines at our feet, and we can listen to the gospel, and we can walk clearly to see where we need to go. But the glory of the Lord is our rear guard, and we must prepare, we must persist, and we must be strong in the Lord. For the glory of the Lord is our rear guard, the glory of the Lord is our protection, the glory of the Lord is the crown of our salvation. So let the Lord our God guide us, hear his voice, and bring us to the place where there is good pastures. And once we have taken our fill of that good pasture, and we have served the Lord our God, let us enter into our rest. Let us take the keys to the mansion that is built for us, and let us hear the most wonderful words, well done, good and faithful servant, enter into my rest.
Amen.
Amen.
Let us all say with our whole soul and our whole mind, let us say,
Lord, have mercy.
O Lord Almighty God of our fathers, we pray you hear us and have mercy.
Lord, have mercy.
Have mercy on us, O God, according to great mercy. We pray you hear us, and have mercy.
Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have